So how would you describe the Dutch culture?
It's whether it's your teacher or your parents, you're kind of on the same level.
I think I've never really experienced this before.
I asked a Dutchman and two expats about their perception of the Dutch culture, and here are their answers.
So you as a Dutch person yourself, how would you describe the Dutch culture in general?
Yeah, so I would say we don't really like hierarchy. So it's like no pyramid. It's whether it's your teacher or your parents, you're kind of on the same level, and you also can talk to anyone like you're on their level. Like you drink with your teacher, you tell your boss what to do.
Okay.
It's a bit like that.
Yeah.
That's definitely a big thing. And yeah, it's very casual. Like not really, people don't really show off with fancy cars. You know, we have the bicycle.
Mm-hmm.
Even our president, you know, he go by the bicycle to the king.
Yeah.
So I think that's very Dutch.
Okay. People, even like the richer people, they don't really like to brag with it, right?
No, I think it's more like if you have money, you do with it what you like to do, but you don't really necessarily buy things to show off.
Yeah.
Maybe suppose you really like cars, you might buy a car, but you don't drive a car just because you want to show you drive a car.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else about culture? Maybe about communication styles and stuff like that?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Like one thing is many Dutch people, they really like to plan. Like I have foreign friends and Dutch friends, and my foreign friends I can say, oh, you want to have a drink tonight?
Yeah.
And my Dutch friends I have to book it 2 months ahead normally.
Okay.
So that's a bit bad actually sometimes.
Yeah.
Can be one of the negative points.
Yeah.
It's not very spontaneous, I would say, at least the Dutch people.
Okay. And you yourself, you're a bit different though, right? You're not...
Yeah, I'm a bit a mix, I would say, because with the Dutch people, if I don't plan with them, I would never see them.
Yeah.
So with my Dutch friends, some of my appointments are now more than a month away, and I have to book it and put it in my agenda.
Yeah.
That's a bit annoying sometimes, but then I also like to spontaneously like meet up, see what happens.
Okay.
So normally I keep a little bit of time free in the week to be a bit spontaneous.
Okay. Yeah. And also you experience the difference between living in a town in the Netherlands and living in Amsterdam. Would you say there are any cultural differences there between Amsterdam and other parts of the Netherlands?
Yeah, I think like in the big city people are a bit more open-minded for sure. Like where I'm from, people live very much according to the expected life path, I would say. Like they get married quicker and have children. Like some of the people I know from my high school, they very early, like they basically bought a house in the same street where they live with their parents, and they get children, and they get married. So it's a bit more like traditional in that sense.
Yeah. And here it's more you do whatever you like to do.
I guess some people might be more traditional, but I think people get married later and they hang out more with foreigners. They travel a bit more. Like where I'm from, people wouldn't travel so much to more exotic places, maybe to Spain, but not to the other side of the world or something like that. Okay. They wouldn't see it as fun. Yeah. And here there are more people who would see it as fun, I think. Okay. So it's a little bit more, open.
Yeah. So how would you describe the Dutch culture?
I think very relaxed is probably like the first word that comes to my mind. I think they have a very interesting way of kind of including people in their culture, like outsiders, basically non-Dutch people in their culture. But I also think it's relaxed, but also planned.
Planned.
Yes, planned. I think I've never really experienced this before. In a place where they plan things so much in advance. Obviously, I have friends who do that, who aren't Dutch, but I think this is like probably the most prevalent way of describing them. They plan everything in advance. They would know what they're doing for 3 months ahead, which is both nice, but also sometimes makes it difficult to meet with people more often and be a bit more spontaneous as well. However, I do find that they're quite relaxed about it. So, sitting outside on a little chair and sipping your wine and, not necessarily having the usual normal table setting, let's say, in a lot of places. So I think that's kind of how I would describe it, I guess.
Okay, so relaxed and planned.
Yes.
Okay. And what about the Amsterdam culture? Is there anything that comes to your mind which is maybe different from general Dutch culture?
I think their sort of acceptance and interest of international people. I haven't lived anywhere outside of Amsterdam, so I haven't fully experienced that much of the general Dutch culture, but from what I've heard and from what I've kind of seen, visiting around, I think people in Amsterdam are very, very open to internationals and very open to immigrants and understanding where they come from and what they're doing here and things like that. Whilst I feel in other cities, because they're not so many internationals as well, maybe they don't know what to ask them and they don't know how to fully react to them existing there and existing in their space. But I think it's more and more open, especially through their university culture, that, yeah, they're more and more exposed to people who are obviously not Dutch, and especially to people who are from completely different cultures to them. I think that makes a difference.
Okay. And do you also maybe find something difficult about the Dutch culture? And also related to this, how was it for you to adapt to this new culture?
Yes, I think there are many difficulties. I think my first shock here was how interested they were about where I come from, which I didn't experience in London. So that was a bit shocking to me. But also, I think it was the planning. It helps a lot. I am a planner in general, but I think it kills off the kind of spontaneity of just meeting people randomly, which is how I met a lot of my friends previously in London, and yeah, how I connected with a lot of people back home in Romania. And then here, I found it difficult because I had to plan everything 3 months in advance if I wanted to connect with people. So that made it slightly difficult, but it's still not very difficult to kind of like fit it into how life works in general, I guess. And yeah, if you get them and they're planning, it gets easier, I guess, after a while. So I'd say that's one thing. And then the other bit is the music. That bit is the bit that I can't get used to yet.
Yeah, what do Dutch people listen to?
I feel there's a lot of music without lyrics. So yeah, techno, electro, house music, and I don't understand that part of their culture, I would say. Because to me it's very much like music is what connects a lot of people, and like the lyrics are, you know, what you feel and emotions are connected to it. But then when there are no lyrics, sometimes I find it really difficult to kind of connect to the music and that side of the culture, I guess. But I think every country has their own quirks, so I guess this might be the quirk of the Netherlands, I guess.
So how would you describe the Dutch culture?
It's very, very different. Actually, it's a very small country, and
Compared to
people
what different?
in itself. So, for example, Amsterdam is very different from the rest of the country. Rotterdam is quite a unique place itself. That's the only city that is much more modern from the major cities. For example, Amsterdam and Utrecht are quite old, but Rotterdam have been rebuilt. So Amsterdam is very shopping culture. Amsterdam is a shopping culture for tourists, but Rotterdam is a shopping culture for Netherlands, for Dutch people. It's a really big modern city. So a part of the big city is also the country itself. South, it's much more party-like, Brabant, that they have festivals than the north. Nordic lands in the Netherlands are much more focused on breeding sheep and maybe doing some very extreme sports. Like skating in the winter through the whole country, yes. And Amsterdam culture is very, very based on people that live here, and we come from all other places that you can imagine. There's a huge immigration from people that used to be Dutch colonies, like Curaçao and Suriname. But these days, everyone is moving to Amsterdam. People from India, people from Poland, people from Asia, and yeah, it's a very unique city. I think a few years ago we have 180 something nationalities in Amsterdam, and since then it's just growing every year. Yeah.
And how would you describe like a typical Dutch person?
Typical Dutch person, I mean, they're very organized. They are having a very clear way what they will be doing with their life. Quite often finish studies and keep the same line of work that is related to studies. They're not the risk takers, but they like to travel to new places to learn. So they definitely open. They quite boring for some people, I will have to say, because they indeed like to have a scheduled meal at the same time. You have to make appointment with them a little bit more in advance.
Yeah.
They are very predictable people, very organized, but that it's what I like, that there is no stress or surprises, and they keep the relationship at work and at home quite mellow and balanced. That's what I like, yeah.
And in terms of Amsterdam people, would you say that people that live here are somewhat different than people from the rest of the Netherlands?
Very much so, and Amsterdam is very proud of being Amsterdam. It's also seen maybe a little bit as a lazy town in comparison to Rotterdam, Utrecht, because Amsterdammers always find the time to sit and enjoy the sun when it's sunny. We are well known to cutting Friday off a little bit early to enjoy. So yes, Amsterdam is a very relaxed, very safe city, but very different than the rest of the Holland you have to encounter there. But because it's very different, it's the most easy place to live.
And how was it for you to adjust to this new culture?
Actually, for me, it was pretty easy because I was in a relationship with a Dutch person for over 10 years. And I studied, and half of the group, the school that I was studying, it was Dutch. So I made very warm, long-lasting relationship in the beginning. So I just adjusted very, very quickly. And I'm really happy when I came back to Netherlands during Corona time in 2020. I do have my own company. I'm self-employed. There were many products in Amsterdam to help culture makers survive the Corona. So for example, Amsterdam was the only city that will pay small individuals money per month until the end of the travels. So yeah, that was really important that Amsterdam culturally will always invest in own people.
Thank you so much for watching until the end of this video. 2 more videos on Dutch culture are waiting to be published, and after that it will be about German culture. If you want to see more of how life is in Amsterdam and other European cities, then please subscribe to this channel. And I would appreciate a thumbs up and your experience or respectful criticism in the comments section. And I hope to see you in the next video.